This is the kind of moment we used to dream about back in the early days of the XRP community, the stuff we always believed would eventually become reality. And guess what? It's happening right now. Just take a look at this headline from the Crypto Basic. In just 24 hours, 3 companies announced plans to buy and hold XRP as a strategic reserve asset. Huge, right? But honestly, they're kind of underselling it here. Yes, it's true. 3 different companies, 3 unique strategies, all revolving around XRP. But here's the kicker. They're not all using it the same way. One of them even plans to loan it out. This is no longer a dream. It's here and it's just getting started. Another company is gearing up to follow a strategy similar to Michael Saylor's Bitcoin playbook. Essentially, people have been buying MicroStrategy stock as a way to gain indirect exposure to Bitcoin. Well, this new player is doing something comparable, but with XRP. I touched on this yesterday, so I won't dive too deeply into it here. If you're curious about the details, check out my previous video for a full breakdown. Now, here's where things get even more exciting. The third company isn't just holding XRP, it's incorporating it into its business model. They'll use XRP and the XRP ledger itself to store and document records directly on the blockchain. No joke. It's bold, innovative, and absolutely fascinating. This is the kind of adoption I always knew was possible, the one that should have been here all along. Fast forward to 2025, and it seems like the rest of the world is finally waking up to what we've understood for ages. Oh, and that last company I mentioned, they're sitting on a jaw-dropping $300 million XRP reserve. Now let's set aside Ripple and the usual suspects, crypto exchanges, investment firms, and so on. Outside of those, this marks the largest XRP treasury ever assembled. $300 million. They clearly see what's coming. You might feel early to the game, and guess what? So do they. And they're not wrong. They're absolutely right. We're all still early. Hardly anyone on the planet has ever bought crypto, which is kind of wild when you think about it. But before we go any further, though, let me make one thing crystal clear. I'm not a financial expert, not even close. This isn't financial advice, and you definitely shouldn't make any money moves based on what I say. Cool? Now, full disclosure, I'm just a crypto enthusiast who loves making YouTube videos about all things blockchain, purely as a hobby, purely for fun. But as someone who's been around the XRP scene for most of its existence, I've got to say, even though I always believed this could happen, I still find myself completely blown away. It's just, wow, we've finally made it. For so long, being in crypto felt like swimming against the tide. You stick around long enough hearing you're wrong over and over. And when the moment of vindication finally comes, it's hard to describe. It just feels incredible. Now, many of the skeptics and doubters have switched sides, and we're seeing serious money pouring in. Let's be real. One major reason adoption took so long was the US government, specifically the SEC, going after Ripple and suing over XRP. That legal battle cast a huge shadow over the space, delaying progress we could have seen much earlier. But with November's election and a shift in leadership, things have changed. Now, with a more crypto-friendly administration and the largest capital market in the world behind it, the momentum is undeniable. This is big. What you're witnessing now is the free market doing its thing. And when XRP competes on a level playing field, it wins every single time. Here's the scoop. XRP is turning heads, capturing major institutional interest. In just one day, 3 companies announced plans to buy and hold XRP as a strategic treasury asset. It all kicked off on May 28th when Alt Capital Group, ACG, a subsidiary of Hyperscale Data, revealed plans to add XRP to its balance sheet. ACG isn't playing small. They're aiming to snag 10 million worth of XRP by year's end. The move is part of their strategy to expand into financial services. On their books, XRP will be listed as a crypto asset, updated to its fair market value every reporting period. Changes in the value of ACG's XRP holdings will now appear in the company's operating expenses on their consolidated statement of operations. But here's the big news. ACG just announced plans to launch an XRP lending platform exclusively for NYSE listed companies. Yep, you heard that right. Picture this. By Q3 2025, major corporations will be able to borrow a fixed amount of XRP, leveraging ACG's strategic XRP reserve. How cool is that? This reserve isn't just sitting there. It's a bold bet on the future value of XRP. Clearly, ACG sees major potential here, or they wouldn't be making such a move. Investing heavily in the most volatile asset class on Earth takes guts, serious guts. XRP, as we know, is no stranger to wild price swings. Add a business model that hinges on making extra profits by lending it out, And you've got to back that with unshakable confidence. And here's the cool part, though. People worry about new competitors entering the game, but let's be real. Once something is established as a standard, the world isn't going to abandon it for something that's just slightly better. The hassle alone keeps people anchored. The truth is, you'll never see a mass exodus to a new tech without a groundbreaking, undeniable reason. To stand out, you need a significantly better product. But here's the thing. XRP already transacts in real time and at virtually no cost. Even if you improve on that slightly, it doesn't really move the needle. What truly matters is something you can't code into any blockchain: time. XRP's decade-long track record speaks volumes. It's battle-tested, trusted, and that trust doesn't come overnight. Think about it. If a shiny new blockchain appears boasting speed and fancy features, do you really think major firms and publicly traded companies will just leap into the unknown? No liquidity, no exchange support. It's not happening. XRP's status as a first mover gives it a massive edge. Don't underestimate the power of being early and being reliable. That's the kind of advantage you can't replicate. Let's be real. People care about standards and first movers. Just look at Bitcoin. Technologically, it's arguably the worst cryptocurrency ever created, yet it's sitting at the top in market cap. Why? Because it has qualities people value. Love it or hate it, that's irrelevant. The market has made its choice loud and clear. Being first does matter. And once people adopt something for specific reasons, good luck trying to dethrone it. Sure, it's not impossible, but it's a steep climb. Now take XRP, which excels at payments. Replacing that? Yeah, good luck. That's no small feat. Bitcoin maxis have been at it for over a decade and still haven't succeeded. Let's face it, they're not exactly the sharpest tools in the shed either. Here's the scoop. Scheduled for launch by Q3 2025, the lending initiative will be powered by ACG's XRP Reserve. Exciting, right? Big moves ahead. And wait, there's more. Let's keep this brief since I touched on it yesterday, but it's too major not to mention again. Check out this CoinDesk headline. Vivo Power raises $121 million to kick off its XRP Treasury strategy, backed by none other than the Saudi royal. Turns out they've been confidently holding XRP for nearly a decade. Wild, isn't it? $121 million raised. Let that sink in. Take a look at this. It's worth highlighting. Now, I won't dive into every detail since I covered it in depth in yesterday's video, but this part is definitely worth sharing. Here's a quote from a Saudi prince whose name, honestly, I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce. Trust me, it just sound like nonsense. He said, after reviewing several listed companies aiming to adopt a digital asset treasury model, we chose Vivo Power for its strategic focus on XRP and its goal to contribute to the growth of the XRP ecosystem. He went on to add, we've been invested in the digital asset space for over a decade and have been long-term holders of XRP. So there you have it. Their treasury reserve strategy is now set. It's kind of like what Strategy is doing with Bitcoin, but with a twist. They're not just backing XRP. They're investing in the builders, shaping the XRP ledger and its entire ecosystem. More utility, more innovation. You've got to love it, folks. There are people out there who finally see the bigger picture. You see it, I see it. We saw it long before they did, but hey, they're catching up now. Big players are stepping in. Case in point, international chauffeur service Webis plans a $300 million raise for an XRP strategic reserve. This is nothing short of magic, folks. Using the blockchain as it was meant to be used. Let me break this down for you. Check it out. I've always said, for any cryptocurrency to survive for the long haul, it needs at least one solid use case, just one. As long as it's useful for something, it's not going anywhere. And honestly, it feels like every other day, okay, maybe not literally every day, we hear about a new business or individual finding innovative ways to use XRP. These new applications keep boosting its utility, which only strengthens its staying power. Even if it's just one thing being done at scale, even with a small market share, it's here to stay. It just is, folks. Speaking of which, here's an interesting one. Webis International, a China-based company specializing in customizable car and touring services for travelers, plans to raise up to $300 million non-equity financing. Why? To create an XRP reserve for its global chauffeur payment network. This isn't just a side project either. It's part of their bigger mission to integrate XRP's cross-vendor settlement capabilities into their ecosystem, think on-chain booking records and a Web3-based loyalty program. Imagine this, just like you can tokenize land, stocks, or even US treasuries, you can tokenize on the XRP ledger too. Here's the exciting part. Besides the massive $300 million set aside to create the largest XRP reserve in history outside of crypto insiders, as far as I know, this is a game changer. Think about it. When a firm like ACG drops a serious investment, it's a sign they're in it for the long haul. Now multiply that by 30. Exactly. This platform's business model actually requires XRP. So, it's built to last. And that's the beauty of it. We're still so early. It's not just cool, it's incredible. Sometimes I sit back and think, how did I get so lucky to have the opportunities I've had? Honestly, thank you, universe, for making this happen. Let's dive in. When we talk about all these activities and transactions, they rely on tokenization on the XRP ledger, which fundamentally requires XRP. That's how it's designed. Now, their entire business model depends on the use of XRP. Think about it. That's huge. The more companies utilizing the XRP ledger, the greater the demand for XRP itself. That's why this matters so much. And here's the kicker. As more people look to diversify into crypto, doesn't it make sense they'll have confidence in XRP, knowing it's essential to these systems? I'd say absolutely. It seems glaringly obvious to me. This proves that we were right all along. We just are. We've outpaced everyone else and it feels good. But here's the thing. Being ahead of the curve also opens doors to life-changing opportunities. That's the game we're playing. The latest initiative is all about making international payments smoother while protecting equity value. Instead of issuing new shares, they're leveraging loans, credit lines, and shareholder guarantees, according to CEO Nan Singh. Smart move, right? And that's just the start. 3 companies making big waves in no time, and there's more on the horizon. Let's not forget the private players keeping things under wraps, quietly stacking up XRP treasury reserves without saying a word. The future, it's looking brighter than ever. Imagine where we'll be in 10, even 20 years. We are in an incredible position, and I genuinely believe this is just the beginning. But hey, remember, I'm not a financial advisor. Don't make decisions based on what I say. That would be, let's just say, not a great idea.